Morning, folks. Well, the news is just broken. Wings of Redemption versus Boogie2988 at Happy Punch, organised by none other than Keemstar himself. A boxing match that is 100% going to happen, and it promises to be an athletic bout of the century as two legitimate powerhouses go to war with their perfectly toned bodies and... yeah, this whole thing is dumb. This was announced not too long ago there, at about 5:23 from Standard Time on the 27th, by Keemstar coming out to say that yes, the rumours were true that had been going around for months. Boogie2988 was, quote-unquote, in talks to fight Wings of Redemption for a boxing match with an estimated date of, well, what's that? Well, that's like, that's an obvious spelling mistake right there, right? You know, because who could possibly imagine two men who get out of breath by standing in place for a few minutes being in a fight-ready condition within just about 2 months? Well, Boogie2988, always ready for a little bit of attention and relevancy, immediately retweeted the announcement, and Wings of Redemption, well, Wings was live streaming at the time, and his reaction was kind of unusual for this big, amazing event.
I got some stuff in the background working. Did Keem and Boogie ever drop something like that? I haven't signed the contract yet.
So, yeah, by the looks of it, it looks like Wings wasn't actually even told they were going to publicly announce it today, and he also didn't seem overly pleased about it, because he barely talked about it for the remaining 30 to 40 minutes of his live stream, only really giving sparse bits of information when prodded by his chat.
You're waiting for the weigh-in? I wonder if they're going to do a weigh-in. They totally should do a weigh-in, though. I don't think we're going to have coaches or teams or cut men or anything like that, dude. We're not the main event. We're going to be one of the first matches on the card. I know exactly how much I weigh. I've showed my weight for much less than they're paying me. I'm not gonna divulge any strategy I've got going on. I'm not going to divulge any money I'm getting paid. I'm just trying to make my donation goal for today. One thing I've learned about being an adult is you don't count your money till it's in your pocket. What's my predictions for the fight? I dropped 60 pounds and dropped Boogie in the first round. I don't know. I don't have no. I ain't a fighter. Hopefully, I'm the favorite because Boogie's in his 50s. I'm not. I'm in my 30s. Honestly, I don't think either me or Boogie are good enough pugilists to have a hugging match. Kane, you should react to Boogie calling you out. Nah, I'm good. I'll do it later. I just think it's something to live life with, man. I get to see the world. I'm getting paid to do it. I mean, me and Boogie are, I won't say it's evenly matched, but like I'm not a fighter. I don't think Boogie is a fighter either. That's the reason I haven't signed the contract yet. I put it up there that I want Kelly to go with me. And they're seeing if they can swing that. It is going to be pay-per-view.
Before I checked the livestream and saw Wings' reaction to it, I already immediately didn't believe it was going to happen, but after hearing all that, I really have no hopes that's going to happen now. Try to remember, this is Boogie's third announced opponent since last year when it was announced that he would fight Sam Hyde. You know, the guy who never actually agreed to the fight and never engaged with Boogie whatsoever about it. But it was still announced anyway by Keemstar as definitely happening. But why was he going to fight Sam Hyde? Well, because Sam Hyde was friends with Frank Hassel, who is basically the bane of Boogie's existence, and Boogie incorrectly thought that Frank would be upset if he was, like, fighting Sam Hyde, I think. Like, it was a wee bit silly. Who was Boogie's second named opponent? Ethan Ralph. He had engaged with Boogie a few times on Twitter about it, and Boogie made, like, a video about it, and I think Ethan talked about it once or twice on his live stream, and then it was just kind of entirely forgotten about as well. But why did he want to fight Ralph? Oh, well, because he blamed Ralph for Frank Hassel coming to his house. Once again, just kind of for some reason. Wings, on the other hand, is just some guy to Boogie, though. He's another fat lol cow. I guess that connects them. And sure, the two of them do seem to have a bit of history, with Boogie apparently reaching out to Wings to get information on how to shut down subreddits, and many people believing he then used this information to take down Sam and Talkie, which was the other bane of Boogie's existence. The two of them were also apparently meant to be doing a podcast at some point together, but that's been debated back and forth for a couple months now, and there's no real signs of it appearing. So, it's a bad start. Boogie doesn't really have a very good track record with this kind of thing already, with 2 fights already being dropped, and also with Boogie's incredibly inconsistent claims about his gym usage, which did include him hilariously claiming at one point that he was still actually going to the gym, guys, but he just wasn't telling anyone about it because apparently the trolls were upset that he was going to the gym. You know, like a Narnia-level fantasy story there. Wings is just as bad, though. There have been rumours of this fight for months, but Wings is not one to follow through with much. After raising money for his weight loss surgery all that time ago, he hummed and he had about it for so long, people actually started to believe it was a scam. He was also kicked off his podcast, Painkiller Already, because he'd agreed to go on a survival trip with 2 of the other hosts and dropped it the night before, only letting them know when one of the other hosts rang him to ask him where he was. When you combine this with Wings saying he is only 90% on board with the deal after it was announced, that he also didn't even know it was going to be announced, and that he sounded like he was reading a eulogy anytime he was talking about it on the live stream afterwards, I'm not really convinced this is going ahead. In my opinion, it's more than likely Keem's just doing what he did previously. He's announcing a match early to try and use the public pressure to force one side into doing it. The problem is, though, Wings doesn't really care about public pressure. If he did, he would have done the survival trip because that was actually just something to do with his own podcast that he ended up getting kicked off of. The public spectacle of this is really the only driving force for it to happen, as they hope hate viewers will show up to try and buy tickets for it, but I think that's kind of a hard sell. Honestly, how many people in the local community actively dislike or care enough about Wings or Boogie to actually pay for it? Especially with the Wings community, who hate Wings so much that they aren't going to buy it, they'll just stream snipe it, they don't care. Boogie, on the other hand, he doesn't really have a hater community anymore. No one really cares about him, you know? So, I don't know, I think most people just wait until it's up on Kiwi Farms or clipped on YouTube the next day. It's also kind of been pushed in a weird way by Keemstar, because not even 24 hours before this whole thing, he was tagging them both in a public tweet to say that he needed to talk to them ASAP. You know, despite already being in contact with them personally to organise the podcast and all before, having Boogie's personal number and phoning him numerous times before, it really just screams desperation to try and paint this as a big and exciting thing, trying to build up hype for it, but I don't think anyone really cared about it. I think most people just assumed it was to do with the podcast again. The reaction to the announcement has been pretty much meh all around. There aren't very many people I've seen who actually believe it's going to happen, and even fewer still who think it's going to happen and it will actually be enjoyable. I know I certainly won't be paying for it. Wings is already causing issues though, as he's arguing that he wants his wife to be flown out as well as him. Oh, wait, did I not mention this is an international boxing event? Yeah, Wings said it's not happening in the US, and that it'll be pay-per-view. Happy Punch has held an event in London before, so that is a possibility. But hell, maybe Boogie will request it to be held down in Dublin specifically so he can try and Frank Hassle me before he goes home. And pay-per-view? It's kind of weird. Boogie's already on Twitter claiming to his fans that he's pushing for it to be free view, which is definitely something Wings won't go for and will never happen. Like, look, it's not impossible for a company to have a free match as a teaser for the event, but this company's already had events, so it doesn't really need the advertising, and if they were going to pick a free match to whet people's appetite, I really doubt they'd pick 2 guys who may actually need wheelchairs to get to the ring. Despite all the issues, there is one thing that might actually push them to do it. Money. Boogie famously in October last year in a now deleted video begged his fanbase to donate even a single dollar to him, which did cause a massive amount of backlash for him. He has since gone on to claim that he had never actually said that, well, that he did say it, but it was misunderstood. Well, actually, he did say it, but it was a mistake him saying that. Oh, well, he actually did say it, but he was actually just trying to troll people by saying that. You know, just every excuse you can think of. Boogie, however, makes a pretty good living on YouTube and Twitch still, easily enough to support himself if he's in any way frugal. Wings claims to be the opposite, though, struggling to constantly to try and find ways to make ends meet, but since beggars apparently can be choosers, he was arguing how he wanted over $100,000 for it because he could apparently die in the ring, that he also wanted cuts from the pay-per-view and prize money pools, etc., which is also why the pay-per-view thing is never going to work if Boogie's trying to push for it to be free view. So in my opinion, Wings is there for the payday because he doesn't really have a reputation left online, and the vast majority of his viewers are hate watchers anyway, so he might as well get the money from them. Boogie, on the other hand, is likely financially fine, but he does just want money for his more expensive hobbies, you know, like hiring sugar babies and buying Magic the Gathering cards. He does, however, want attention, though, because he still seems to believe that he can crawl back to the top, whilst Wings has given up on that a long time ago. The likelihood of the match happening is painfully slim, so I really wouldn't hold my breath, folks. But if it does happen, I also wouldn't hold my breath. Because neither of these boys certainly can. They're both incredibly out of shape. They apparently only have 2 months to get ready, and more so than that, Boogie, who was already at high risk of both a heart attack or a stroke, apparently now also has a blood cancer, which makes him far more at risk. So I don't really know of any doctors who would sign Boogie off as fit for a boxing match at nearly 50 years old, 400 pounds, and also cancer-ridden. But well, apparently Boogie already claimed he was signed off as perfectly healthy and fit for a boxing match by a doctor. You know, before he announced he had cancer. It's kind of weird. If he does sign off, the only interesting thing that would be the weigh-in, because a lot of people do doubt Boogie's weight at being 380 pounds, which he staunchly argued for years now despite any physical changes. I think Wings is possibly the same with people arguing about his weight, but I don't really follow him as closely. But fine, guys, we'll step into Narnia here for a second. Both of them sign the contract. Wings gets all the conditions he wants and $82 billion. Boogie is somehow cleared medically. Both of them then fly out to the arena, and then what? You have 2 land whales, one of which is a self-confessed pacifist who apparently has never thrown a punch at all in his entire life. So what are you hoping for? It wouldn't surprise me if both of them just walked to the ring and immediately threw themselves on the ground at the same time to get a double count out before the first bell's even rung. Honestly, it wouldn't really surprise me if this wasn't just a big attempt to advertise their upcoming podcast. Like, I'm not excited about it at all, but I know people want to hear my opinion on this, and that's why I'm making this video. I don't think any of you guys honestly think it's going to happen or are overly excited about it, but why not? It's probably the most interesting thing Boogie's done recently. I don't know, 0 out of 10. I just hope they have good insurance for the ring.
500-pound superplex! Oh my God!
Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to get a wee quick thing out to have a chat about this. I haven't talked about Boogie in a fair wee while, which I think I may have upset him somewhat. But we'll talk about that in the monthly recap, which I am currently intending today. But I want to thank my patrons here first. Frank, Eswank, Healy, Blake D. I'm just saying an absolute massive thank you so much for donating, subscribing, all that malarkey. I do hope you guys have a good night. Take care of yourselves now. Bye-bye.